Wrestling Classic. Justin here, back for the TWC Show, but for the first time ever, we are here in Dash Radio, the studios of Dash Radio. The TWC Show will be moving forward with Dash Radio, and this is the first episode on Dash. So if you guys haven't, make sure you guys download the app, Dash Radio, and check out their website and everything as well. But for this episode, we're doing something really different rather than just reviewing a week of wrestling. I got a very special guest with me, someone I've talked to for quite a while, but formally just met recently, just today actually, we met for the first time. None other than Blake Troop.
Whoop, whoop.
Bang, bang.
I was on the Jenna Ben show here on Dash Radio just a couple of days ago, so you probably could have checked that out on Dash if you haven't already. And Jenna was the one that actually introduced us, me and Blake, and made this happen. I did not know I was recording a show while I was out here in LA. I thought I was gonna go home and record a show, but here we are, thanks to Jenna.
Yeah, so Justin and I met, he slid into my DMs.
That happened.
But it was all just, pure fun, started a friendship over Instagram, and he let me know that he was coming out to LA, and I promised to take good care of him, helping him kind of get transitioned over here at Dash Radio. Justin's show is on the same station as mine, the Talk Station, so when you look us up at our specific times, make sure you tap and favorite the Talk Station. You can find me at the Jenna Ben Show on Instagram and on Dash Radio.
And honestly, guys, if you guys haven't checked out that episode that I did with Jenna, definitely go check it out. You hear a different side of me and things that I don't really talk about all the time on this show, because she was asking questions that most people don't really ask me because they weren't really wrestling related. So definitely check that out. I'll be promoting it. You would have seen me post all about it on the Wrestling Classic as well. But yeah, thank you, Jenna. Thank you for everything you've done so far. And you have been really helpful since I've been out here.
So happy to help, and I'm really excited for this collab. I actually see a bright future for the both of you. So carry on.
Yeah, and I'm excited to talk to you. Mixed martial arts fighter, pro wrestling commentator, huge wrestling fan. Tell us more about yourself.
Yeah, so like you said, professional MMA fighter and professional badass. I get in a cage and I fight people for money. And I'm a huge fan of professional wrestling. I'm just starting to kind of break into it. I commentated for the first time for Championship Wrestling from Hollywood this past week. I commentated several episodes. And man, I love it. The more I've gotten into professional wrestling, the more I'm enjoying it as a sport, and I believe as a profession. I've only had one day in the profession, but I'm really enjoying it so far.
I'm going to talk to you a lot more about the commentary stuff because I'm intrigued how that's going. But you do have a huge fight coming up. How would you tell us a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. So in 2.5 weeks, I'm fighting a guy named Mike Quintero on Lights Out Extreme Fighting LXF5. Friday the 13th, main event for the heavyweight title. And man, I couldn't be more excited for this. This is the biggest fight of my career, and I've been treating it as such. And I'm really excited for the opportunity to go in there and let these hand grenades start flying. Because when hand grenades start flying, bodies start dropping.
I love it. I love it. So going into this fight, is there anything that you have to training wise in? Because you've been doing commentary, doing all that. Is that interfered with your training or anything?
No, so all I do is train and fight. So I'm able to work a lot of stuff in that coincide with that type of stuff. So I don't have a full-time job and things of that nature. My fight career completely pays for my living expenses. So this is all that I do full-time. But one big thing about this fight going into this is my heavyweight debut. I fought at 170 pounds, 185 pounds, 205 pounds, and now I'm moving up to heavyweight, which is a big transition for me. And I really feel like a lot of people have asked me why, if I could cut weight and make 170 pounds at one point, why move up to heavyweight? And the big reason behind that is I really felt like cutting weight put handcuffs on my body's ability to perform. Every time I've moved up weight classes, I've had better performances. And right now I'm 4-1 in my last 5 fights. I've just run people over. I have a 100% first round finishing rate. But in my last fight, I came very close to running my opponent over, dropped him, almost knocked him out. But I spent everything I had in that first 2 minutes chasing the kill.
That's crazy.
And I spent everything, and I ended up losing a decision that fight to a tough opponent. Nothing against him.
Who was that?
I say I gassed out, Andre Vasilenko, who's the 205-pound champion for Lights Out. So I was the co-main event last time for the 205-pound belt, lost a decision, and now I'm moving up to heavyweight to fight for the heavyweight title. And so I'm coming off a loss, moving up a weight class, but like I said, I've really felt like I was putting handcuffs on my body's ability to perform at 200, even at 205 pounds, where I'd be cutting down from about 230 or so. Right now, I'm walking at about 240.
So with Lights Out, for people that don't know about that company that much, is that like an LA-based MMA company?
So they're, I would consider them a regional, but I'd really consider them one of the biggest regional shows in Southern California. Like I said, they're on Fox Sports Network, so Fox Sports West, Prime Ticket, whatever the Fox Sports grouping is in San Diego, Minnesota, Houston, and Fox Sports Sun in Florida. So it's a bunch of different regions, and Florida's a great one for me because Florida's really the hotbed for professional wrestling.
No, 100%. It's one of them for sure. Back in the day, championship wrestling from Florida was a big deal, right?
Yeah.
So I totally understand that. So people that want to watch it, they can watch it on Fox Sports, basically.
Absolutely. The Fox Sports Network's...
so March 13th.
Friday, March 13th. So the fight happens on Friday, March 13th, and then it airs the following Friday on the Fox Sports Networks. And then after that, it'll replay probably about 3 or 4 times a week for the next 4 to 6 weeks on each of those networks.
So what led you to MMA?
So in about 2001, which was my freshman year of high school, I'm about 15 years old at the time. A close family friend who worked for my dad was kind of overweight, and he's like, "Hey man, do you want to do some kickboxing with me? I'm trying to get in shape."
Sweet, yeah.
And I was just like, "Yeah, man, let's do it." And I ended up doing it with him, and it was so. This is 2001, before fighting is really what fighting is today. Now you can drive down the street and pass 5 MMA schools.
No, 100%. They're all over the place.
But back then, it wasn't like that. And so we happened to go to a place that was a legit school, or was ran by legit people. It's not around anymore, but the people who coached there were legitimate people actually in the fight game. So I came in 2001 and started learning kickboxing from legitimate people. And so I continued to do that, and I naturally excelled at it. And they also had like a combat grappling, which is essentially no-gi without the uniform grappling.
Yeah.
And I did that too, and I loved it. And I'm an older brother. I had an older brother, and so I'm used to playing rough. I even call my style of fighting Big Brother Jiu-Jitsu. I'm gonna treat you like I treated my annoying little brother.
I know, you threw some holds on me too, and I felt it. I'm like, I'm used to this. I have an older brother as well. I get it, yeah.
But so I started training then, and I naturally excelled at it. I'd always really liked fighting video games, and it was a very similar thing to that. And I continued training more and more from about 2001 on. And then eventually went to college and stuff, didn't train at college, dropped out, screwed around a whole bunch, and moved back to Los Angeles. And I got a job at On the Mat Fight Shop, OTM Fight Shop, and just got really deeply involved in the sport in about 2006. And I've just been consistently training and staying active in the sport and around the sport for a really long time. So I got into it because one of my friends was trying to lose some weight. That's how I got into fighting.
So was there anyone in particular that you'd say really influenced your MMA career or helped you out the most, that you like, if you could pick one person and be like, that person really helped me out, who would that be?
One of the people I would say that really inspired me and motivated me in fighting would be Tito Ortiz. I was a huge Tito fan when I was younger, but he was one of the first people that he almost had a professional wrestling gimmick in fighting. You know,
in a sense, he did, yeah.
Bleached hair.
And it's bled over to wrestling. He's been doing stuff with him for years because he's had that personality.
Absolutely. You know, Tito was actually just at the WWE Performance Center about a week ago.
Trust me, I know. It's for those of you that don't know, Tito was just at the Performance Center not that long ago. And we'll get to talk about that because there's a lot of crossover with MMA and wrestling. It's been happening a lot in the past 10 years. But Tito would be someone that you'd say was a big influence for yourself?
Huge influence for me. And not only that, but a lot of the things that I currently do for my fight career / wrestling career, like in terms of having a gimmick and creating a brand, Tito was one of the first guys to really do a lot of those things. And so I've studied a lot of guys from the past that have found success in either fighting or professional wrestling is the closest thing to fighting, in my opinion, in terms of what I'm doing, you know. And I looked at a lot of these guys and saw what they were doing and utilized some of the strategies and techniques that they were doing to build their brand, to build my own brand.
So wrestling helped you build the brand that is now.
Oh, 100%. My Bulletproof troop, my gimmick, if you want to call it that, is 100% professional wrestling oriented. I'm basically a professional wrestling gimmick in fighting.
And doesn't that, do you agree? Because I think it does. But do you agree that helps fighters in MMA get over a little bit more when they do have a gimmick and a little bit more of a character?
I think so. So a big thing that I tell people is the buildup should be about half of what the fight is. The fight's the payoff.
No, 100%.
But just like in wrestling, where we're going to talk about the fight, and here's what's going to happen, and blah, blah, blah. I mean, even in fighting, you see the same things happening, like with Conor McGregor versus Floyd Mayweather. Those guys went around the world doing press conferences, in 5 days in a row, around the world, because people wanted to watch these two dudes talk and hype up. Obviously, more people probably watched the fight, but that fight was put together because of how much hype could go into the fight.
They built it like a story. You wanted to get into the characters. You were invested in the fact that they hated each other, and you wanted to see it happen. And I think I remember UFC when it first started, and it was a bunch of guys just fighting each other from different weight classes. There was no
wild.
Do you remember the back day, like the tournaments
Wild.
they used to have with
They used to call it human cockfighting, and I wouldn't really disagree with that. It was wild.
There was no weight classes. It was like a jiu-jitsu guy versus a karate guy, and it was totally mixed up. But eventually, as you saw the evolution of MMA, mainly the mainstream MMA, you see how much they also jumped in and started taking advantage of characters and storylines. And as a long-time, lifelong wrestling fan, like I knew that they were taking that a little bit of that from wrestling of how to promote a fight through creating the character storyline. So you created this character. Was there anyone from wrestling that kind of influenced you with this exact character?
So in terms of this character, where my last name's Troop, so I really ran with kind of a military theme.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. You know,
camouflage, Bulletproof Troop's the nickname. You know. But in terms of like my personality and the character, and I wouldn't even say that I portray, because it's kind of just who I am. The volume's for sure on high.
Well, that's what it is. Like if you've listened to any wrestler or read any of their books, one of the things they always say is like your character is really yourself at an exaggerated version.
Absolutely.
Is that exactly who Bulletproof
100%.
is?
You know, so some of the biggest influences in terms of from professional wrestling for me, I grew up in the Attitude Era. I was born in 87.
That's great. Awesome. Yeah.
So I grew up watching, I mean, if you want to hear my 3 biggest influence would be Stone Cold Steve Austin being the bad. I mean, you can
why did I assume right off the bat like he's gonna stay Stone Cold Steve Austin? Attitude Era, you have the beard, you got it going on, and he's that person that was himself, but to an exaggerated version. He's like the main person that will be like
the Texas rattlesnake, bad dude who's just like, let's do it, man. Bam, pounding beers.
Like I don't expect to see Stone Cold like pounding beers in the middle of the street, but you know that that's still part of him, you know?
Right. What's part of the show? The volume on high.
Exactly. So who are the other two?
So the next one, so Stone Cold kind of being the badass who's down to fight people and like be a bad dude, you know?
No, 100%.
The next one's The Rock, being electrifying, getting people interested in it, you know, talking. And he's one of the people who has the most catchy catchphrases. Yeah. If you smell, like, bro, the whole place erupts, you know, like.
He can come back today and the fans will still sing along with him, and that tells you something about how over his catchphrases and his writing was for him.
So that's a big part of, like, a lot of my catchphrases, you know.
What are some of your catchphrases?
So when hand grenades start flying, bodies start dropping. I got my hand grenades and elbows. Big brother jiu-jitsu. You know, when Bulletproof Troop sees red, my opponent is gonna see black. I got a whole bunch
of that. That was awesome.
That's how I close most of my promos out. So I have a lot of fun with things like that. So The Rock with the catchphrases, and then like.
So let's try to nail that down. So it's Austin with the attitude, The Rock with the charisma and the catchphrases.
And then the last one's like Generation X, Triple H, kind of the against authority, like we do what we want.
The anti-authority, yeah.
I would really say I'm a combination of but that's who I grew up watching. You
know,
like,
100%.
And so I would definitely say, even me as a person, those 3 people are big influential people on who I am, which makes sense why with the gimmick, the volume on high, just like you're saying, was like Stone Cold, the Rock, and to Generation X.
Yeah, no, for sure. And like DX, they're kind of getting the reminiscence of their whole, they had the DX Army thing going on too, so I'm sure you picked up some of that as well.
Absolutely.
So what is like your earliest memories of wrestling? Like, when did you first start watching? You said your Attitude Era is the era you remember the most, but like, when's the first time you saw wrestling and you're like, that was the moment you're like,
I would say like some of my oldest memories are, man, this has to be, I don't know, maybe mid-90s, playing Super Nintendo, one of the wrestling games on Super Nintendo.
Okay, sweet.
I don't even remember which one it was, but it had like Yokozuna, Bam Bam Bigelow, Tanaka. Like, it was old school, bro.
Was it Raw or was it the Royal Rumble one? I had the Super Nintendo.
I think it was the Royal Rumble.
And they had a bunch of them on the cover. It was like Mr. Perfect, Shawn Michaels.
Mr. Perfect was in that game too.
Yeah, and I think it was Royal Rumble because I think that one had Bam Bam in it. And
I think you're right. I think
it
was.
That
it had like the little bar.
So your first exposure was a video game.
So, that's kind of what looking back, I remember. And I've always been huge into the wrestling video games.
No,
like
for sure.
WrestleMania, No Mercy on Nintendo 64.
No Mercy has to be one of the greatest games of all time. The debate's usually between that and Here Comes the Pain, but it's an amazing game.
It is, man. THQ put out some fantastic wrestling. And it's so simple. There's like a handful, but like I was a huge... No Mercy is probably my favorite.
Yeah, we played that for hours when we were kids. And I remember being in high school, and this is like when N64 was already like out of date. We were still playing No Mercy. And
I still play Nintendo 64.
It's a blast. I don't think people understand, even like all the other games like Mario Kart and stuff too. Like
NFL
N64
Blitz.
was just, it was a good time to be a kid in those days, man. But yeah, so that's it. So how about on television? Like, what was the first thing you saw that, like, was there anyone that caught your eye where you're like, oh my God?
I don't remember necessarily then, because I remember watching a whole bunch. I remember when Owen passed, like things like that, where it was like a big deal. But yeah, I can't really say necessarily like a single moment. Another big thing I remember when I was young is there was a website called Raja or something like that.
Raja.com is like a dirt
and they would
sheet
tell you what happened. And
yeah,
so,
it was a spoiler website.
And I found this out before my brother, or my siblings, or anybody did. So I knew who was going to win.
You were ahead of the curve. That's slick. That's slick. But so like were you just a WWF guy? Did you watch any WCW?
I watched WCW a whole lot too.
So did you get hit with that NWO thing?
I was a big NWO fan. I was.
Were you a Hulkamaniac?
Yeah, I mean, I thought Hulk was cool, but
so like him turning heel didn't do much for you.
No.
Because for me, don't get me wrong, I'm a little bit younger, but my brother was born in 1981, and he was like the biggest Hulkamaniac. So I had tapes and tapes and tapes of wrestling and magazines and everything. But for some reason, and I love Hulk Hogan today, and I appreciate and respect everything he's done. But back then, I was like more of a Macho Man guy, or anyone that wasn't Hulk, because he was the guy with the spotlight on him.
Right.
But when he turned heel, I loved it, because I'm like, oh, he's actually showing his true colors. So I always assumed he was a heel.
Right.
Like, have you ever looked back at the Macho Hogan feud over Miss Elizabeth?
No, it's been a long time. I remember it happening, but the specifics I'd have to watch.
Okay, so basically, I'm gonna get your opinion on this. Hogan and Macho Man became a tag team. Savage won the belt. Hogan and Savage,
Yeah, they were the superpowers.
They were the mega powers, right? And Savage was a champion. Hogan was still in Savage's spotlight, being his tag team partner, doing other stuff with them. And then you got a little close with Miss Elizabeth, who was Macho Man's just manager at the time. But if you were a real fan, you knew there was more going on. And then Savage got a little paranoid that, Hogan had lust in his eyes for Elizabeth, and he never backed off. Does that make Hogan the bad guy a little bit?
I mean, it depends on what the
wrestling
situation.
fans are so blind to it that he was such a good guy.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on what the situation was between Miss Elizabeth and Macho. If they weren't technically a thing, I mean, I don't know.
But I always look back at that one angle and always think about that. I'm like, I think people don't look at it. Like, Hogan was the guy that could hit someone with a chair and get away with it. But if a bad guy did, then he was a bad guy. It was a weird time. But okay, so you watched WCW.
Yeah.
Who did anyone in WCW stand out to you more?
Sting, probably. Sting, but dark Sting. Sting after NWA came, when he had the face paint and the bat, and he'd be coming down from the rafters. That Sting was probably my favorite WCW.
So were you one of those people flicking channels back and forth between Nitro and Raw, or were you more preferably Raw and then occasionally watch Nitro? Or
I would definitely say it was back and forth, but once WWF bought WCW, it was 100% WWF. And they started,
100%. Yeah.
And they started bringing a bunch of the guys over. Like, I remember the Big Show being the Giant in WCW.
Yeah. That was the longer when he was
or like
green.
The Four Horsemen, you had Benoit, Malenko.
That was Mongo, then Mongo McMichael in there.
Yeah.
So let me just with WCW being purchased, did you watch any ECW at all?
Not a whole lot, a little bit. My parents were not huge fans of professional wrestling so much, especially the more extreme versions of it, where people were getting hit with stuff, because they'd see me and my siblings doing wrestling moves on each other and stuff, and I don't think they wanted to.
Did you guys fully ignore that "don't try this at home" stuff?
Oh,
I think
100%,
we all did.
100%.
Did you ever get any injuries back?
Oh yeah,
I hurt myself. Like what?
So me and my buddies would do all kinds of stupid stuff, and there was a school right by my parents' house. And so there's like a roof, and then it dropped down on this little hill part. But it's still like a 6-7 foot. We'd be doing swanton bombs off there, like.
No way.
Bro, we made poor choices.
Did you ever break anything?
No, I mean, it felt like it a few times. But
you're very fortunate. I broke bones. That's really good for you. Yeah. So when did you stop watching? Like, is there ever a point where you stopped watching? Because I know after 2002, when WCW was out of business, ECW was out of business, and it was just WWF, a lot of people at some point after that found a phase where they stopped watching for a bit.
Absolutely. That's right around the time I did too, but it didn't have to do with WCW or the lack of different competition and shows to watch.
Yeah.
It's when I found out about MMA. MMA stole my heart in about, like I said, I started training in about 2000, 2001.
2001, and that's actually right around the same time.
MMA stole my heart, and so I really started getting into it and watching. This is when Tito Ortiz, I think, was champion. Randy Couture, like Chuck Liddell. So a lot of the, I wouldn't necessarily call it early UFC, but it's early if you want to look at it now.
Yeah.
So MMA stole my heart. I'm like, I knew wrestling was fake and that it was a show and stuff, but I didn't care. I'm going to go watch an Avengers movie and I know it's fake, so it's not going to like.
That's the way I explain it all the time. But
Iron Man's not even real. Like, I still enjoy watching Iron Man movies.
No, 100%, because a lot of people did. Like, that was a really common thing that happened is, that peak of the Attitude Era and the Monday Night Wars or whatever you want to call it, when wrestling was hardcore and pop culture and everything. Like, everybody was watching wrestling. Even people that barely watched wrestling before or after that were watching wrestling at that point. But when that happened, people did start turning to MMA because MMA did start becoming a little bit more relevant. And there was always that debate with people now, like, oh, you still watch that fake stuff when there's this? And I'm always like, well, they're completely different.
Yeah, it's totally different.
They're completely different, and you can watch both for two totally different reasons.
Oh, yeah.
So when you did get into MMA, like, what brought you back into wrestling?
So I saw, like I said, early 2000s, maybe 2000, 2001, like when I started training, it stole my heart, and I got totally into it, stopped watching wrestling pretty much completely until 2018, 2017. So, I mean, I had like a 15, 16.
Oh, so you stopped for a while.
I stopped completely. And then I had some buddies, like I knew people that wrestled locally and stuff like that. And I had a buddy who took me to an indie show, and I fell back in love with it at the indie show. Because wrestling fans are the best. The chants, all the energy in the room. And I was just like, man, why did I stop watching?
How would you compare wrestling fans to MMA fans? In a live crowd.
Pro wrestling fans are by far the best fans of any sports, anything, because they're extremely loud, interactive. They care about what's going on. That
is 100% true.
They show what they like, what they don't like, you know, and they make the show, because you can have a heel out there being bad, and if everyone's just like, it's just, you know, where it's like, boo, F this guy, blah, blah, blah. They get their chance. You still suck. Or whatever, you know, like.
The energy's great. And, you know, they dictate how because in wrestling, I feel like most of the time you're working off the crowd.
Oh, 100%.
So, like, you're working off the noise they're making, the things they're chanting, and the emotion they're giving you. And in MMA, I don't think it's that. It's more of a head game.
Oh, 100%. Where the crowd, I wouldn't say, is a factor in a fight. Where
See, I don't know much about MMA from that, so explain that. So,
well, I guess if you guys are banging and you hear people screaming, you might be a little more hyped to bang. But you know,
like, are you meant to like kind of close off the crowd?
Once we start touching each other, everything goes out the window. People are like, can you hear your coach in there? Kinda sometimes. You know,
so that's like the complete opposite.
Or like,
wrestling.
oh man, did you hear us? Nah, didn't hear that. Nope, don't remember any of that. But I mean, I've heard like when I was trying to knock out before, I've heard people chanting. I'm like, you know, but you really get tunnel vision when you get inside the cage. The cage closes, things are going on. You touch gloves, we're in here doing this.
Yeah.
Once you guys have clashed once or twice, everything else goes out the window. I'm not worried about what anybody else is thinking besides what's going on in that cage. It's a very liberating feeling, and like where people say like meditations, being as in the moment as possible. Ain't no being in the moment more so than being in a fist fight. You know, nothing else in the entire world matters. All I'm thinking about is hurting them. I mean, I'm not even really thinking about them hurting me.
So the crowd is just a non-factor. It's just you and that person in the ring, and that's it.
When we're in the cage, it's a non-factor. I agree with that. But like, I'm fighting on Friday the 13th, so I have a whole Return of the Nightmare Friday the 13th theme thing that I'm doing.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you because I think that's a big part of it too. Like, one thing from wrestling that is a big deal is the entrances, the grand entrance, the special entrance. If you just watched the Tyson Fury fight, he came out there in a grand entrance.
Both of them did, yeah.
They both did, actually. You're right. Like, I think that's another thing I think is kind of taken from wrestling a little bit.
Oh,
but
100%.
The theme music and the grand entrance, like when you're making that entrance, like that's more, you're hoping for that crowd reaction, hoping for that pump up, taking that noise
Absolutely.
in.
I mean,
get
even
that
in all the
adrenaline
hype,
running.
the promos I cut and all these things, those are all for the fans.
Yeah.
You know, people are like, oh, you trying to get in your opponent's head?
Yeah.
Dude, I'm fighting a world champion who's a tough, bad dude.
Yeah.
I don't believe that I'm going to be getting in his head. But I'm definitely putting on a show for everybody who wants to come watch me fight him. You know, so, I mean, I would say the fans are a huge part in all the buildup, and we wouldn't be fighting if we didn't have fans there. So, like, they're
100%.
a huge part of everything. But once that cage door closes and we're about to fight, no offense to the fans, but y'all are the back of my mind.
So what's your process of coming up with an entrance or picking your music?
So I have a custom walkout track that I've been using for a few years.
Who made you that?
My friend Nico Luciano.
Shout out to him.
Shout out to Nico. Yeah, he gave me an awesome song. For this particular one, my roommate Giassi made me a custom, like, scary movie themed track.
Yeah.
And I cut
this is Friday the 13th, by the way, if you guys didn't catch that before.
Yeah, Friday the 13th. And so I cut a promo. I was supposed to fight in November, like a year and a half ago. And injury, fight fell off. But so I cut a promo that I dropped on Halloween that was me in like face paint. It's like, nightmares are made out of the same stuff that I am. Yada, yada, yada. But so because the fight never happened, I still have the promo. I mean, I posted it, but I'm going to change it. Same structure and everything.
Yeah.
But this time I'm doing it with a Jason mask. I'm walking out with a Jason mask. Shout out to Chris for making me a bunch of dope Jason masks. Me and my coaches are all coming out with these awesome.
Oh, so you guys are all walking out with the masks.
Me and all my coaches are coming out with like custom Jason masks. I'll show you what they look
Make
like.
Make sure you send me a video. I'll post that on the page. That'll be sweet. I think people will be, after they hear this, they're going to want to see that. It sounds pretty sweet, man.
And so, so I'm coming out the whole Friday the 13th theme. But I definitely want to try and, so like I said, they're going to play this promo that's about a minute long before I walk out of the nightmares or blah, blah, blah. You know, and then it's going to hit my music. I'm going to come out. I'm going to have someone rapping a verse on this custom track. Then I come out, Jason mask, my chain. And so I got something else planned that I'm debuting for this time. And it's a baseball bat that has like an AR-15 rail on it.
Oh, that's
just
sweet.
Just to go with, you know, I got my chain, my bat, you know, my Jason mask. Like, who's this bad dude?
No, I definitely want to see that when it does happen. Shoot me the video.
Absolutely.
I'll post it. I think that's really cool, man.
Absolutely. So, I mean, and this is all very professional wrestling oriented. Like when I grew up watching, dude, boom, music hits, a video comes up on the screen. I mean, this is essentially a professional wrestling entrance in mixed martial arts. So like I say, my gimmick is very, very professional wrestling derived.
No, that's awesome, man. So how'd you get in with Championship Wrestling for Hollywood?
So with Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, the promotion I fight for, like I said, Lights Out Extreme Fighting, one of the partners for that is Dave Marquez. So Dave Marquez, as you know, from NWA and Championship Wrestling and all that stuff. So Dave does a lot of the production, and he's a partner with them. And so that was kind of how they helped bring, or one of the big selling factors on them bringing me to Lights Out Extreme Fighting. I used to fight for Legacy Fighting Alliance, LFA, when it was on Access TV, and now it's on UFC Fight Pass. But so when they came at me, when Lights Out approached me, they were talking about trying to bring Bulletproof Troop into professional wrestling, which is where they knew I was trying to take my career anyway. And so having someone like Dave Marquez on the team, I couldn't be asking for a better mentor and person to help guide me into professional wrestling. And so that was a big reason why I signed with Lights Out Extreme Fighting. And so as you know, Dave with NWA and Championship Wrestling from Hollywood and all that stuff. So Dave, right now I'm focusing on my fight. I've been doing a lot of professional wrestling training.
Yeah.
But so to bring me in, that right now the idea is through commentary initially, so that I can come in and put over wrestling. Wrestling fans can start getting familiar with me, and they can promote me as like a legit badass about my fight coming up and so forth. And without me actually having to get in the ring.
The fantasy booker in my mind is hardcore, just seeing you somehow transitioning from the commentary desk, getting in a fight with someone that leads to you getting to the ring. So if that happens, I called it here for it first. But
I cannot confirm or deny, but I'll say great minds think alike.
I feel like that's how it have to go down, because that's how wrestling works. And if you're like me, I think like a booker sometimes, and I've been doing that since I was a kid. But so like when it comes to commentary and stuff like that, how is that going for you? Because it's not easy. People think commentary is easy, calling wrestling's easy. I don't know if you're doing the play-by-play, which you're most likely not. You're probably doing more the color stuff and making comments and stuff about what's going on.
They brought me on for color commentary. I don't think I'd quite be ready for play-by-play. I think I need a little bit more learning about different move names and stuff. But I've done a lot of commentary for fighting, kickboxing, and so forth.
Oh, so you had experience coming in a little bit.
So I have some experience, and I love to talk already, so.
Yeah, no, this is great. Yeah.
But yeah, so I had a fantastic time. You know, and it's all about being animated and having fun and making it, because wrestling, it's all about being bigger than life. And so when things would happen where, you know, having fun saying some of the stuff like, wow, they're going to feel the seismic activity from that slam all the way in San Diego, you know, like.
I think you have such a great promo voice that it going on to commentary probably isn't that hard.
Yeah, it's fun for me. I enjoy it. I don't mind having a microphone in front of me or a camera on me or so forth. So I've really enjoyed the commentary. And I'm stoked because I think the really big thing that sets good wrestlers apart from legendary wrestlers is an ability to talk.
No, 100%.
And so by being able to demonstrate that I have the ability to talk in front of a camera, on a microphone, or so forth, I think that really boosts the value in my brand.
No, 100%. I strongly believe that, like, there's a lot of good wrestlers out there, and you can be a tremendous wrestler, but I've always been a storyline, promo, character guy, so if you can cut promos and you're not even the greatest wrestler, like, I might be more invested in your match because you sold me on it.
Right, like you were saying earlier with the telling of the story between Conor and Mayweather. I agree 100%. You know, like, nothing against Hulk Hogan, but Hulk wasn't an amazing technical wrestler.
But he could talk
He did a big boot and a leg drop.
He could talk you into the room. He could get you to the show. And the same with Flair. Like, Flair did a lot of the same stuff in every match, and I love Flair. Happy birthday, Ric Flair. It's his birthday today as we're recording this. But it's his promos. You remember? I
You say Ric Flair, and people are like, woo!
Yeah, they're doing the Rue, they're doing the Rolex wearing, kiss stealing, wheeling dealing stuff. You talk about The Rock. I can't sit here and tell you like 5 of my favorite Rock matches, but I can tell you 5 of my favorite Rock promos. And they were also electrifying and make you want to go and watch The Rock. So now, if you could do both.
Absolutely, I agree 100%. So that's why I'm so excited about having the commentary gig. You know, I feel good about performing in front of people. I think that's another big thing is people could wrestle fantastic or fight fantastic at the gym, but what are you going to do in front of 50 people, 100 people, 1,000 people, 5,000 people? You know, I feel like that side of it I've got down. Getting better at the speaking, especially within the business, I'm really excited about, and I enjoy it. I really enjoy it.
You relatively, like, what were you, like, when did you get comfortable with cutting promos? Because it couldn't have been right off the bat, or were you just a natural?
So I would say a combination of the two. A lot of the times when I do stuff, I'm able to one-take it. And the WWE talent scout that found me, his name's Raven. He calls me One-Take Blake, because we'll cut a promo and I'll just one-take it right there.
Yeah. Has anyone ever give you any advice or anything that kind of steered you in the right direction when it comes to like talking?
So I'll bounce.
Sometimes you can be too loud. Sometimes, like, you know, everyone's different. Everybody wants something different. Has anyone give you anything?
So I mean, I've got a bunch of people that I'll shoot my promos to and try and get feedback on. In different ways. It might be professional wrestling or other areas. But one of the biggest things that I did initially to make me better at talking, this was before I was cutting promos, was I started doing my Instagram story. And I would just go on there and get comfortable talking in front of the camera. Yeah. And at first, I got to redo that one. And I started just being like, man, I'm just going to post it. And so I started just one-taking everything. Yeah. And I've gotten significantly better just at making videos and saying what it is in a concise, good way by doing it, you know? And so once I started doing the promos, I was already used to being given it's me holding a camera up. Yeah. But being in front of a camera and speaking with purpose about something to keep someone interested. Trial and error,
practice makes better. You just 100%. Kept doing it until you felt comfortable with it, and now it's coming naturally to you. So you've already kind of told me what your plans are for the future. You're training to wrestle. You want to move fully from MMA to wrestling, or are you looking to do both? Or
ideally, if it was up to me, I would try and do a combination of the two. The thing is, most companies are going to want exclusive contracts.
100%.
You know, WWE, obviously, that's the big show, you know. They would want an exclusive contract. Same thing with the UFC. So, I mean, I think the only big company I would sign an exclusive contract that would bar me out of doing one or the other would be the WWE. As long as I could do both, that would be the ideal position, at least until I'm able to really transfer over in a way that I'm ready to walk away from fighting. Let's say WWE hit me up after this fight. Would I be willing to walk away? Yeah, probably. You know.
Does the outcome of the fight matter to you then, that sake, or regardless?
The outcome of the fight always matters to me.
Yeah. So like, I'm just thinking, because if it didn't go your way, would you be ready to walk away then?
Potentially. Based upon what the options were following the fight, maybe. Obviously, you know, you start setting goals, and my goal is to be the UFC champion one day. But if I got to a point where I feel like a checkpoint that was high enough of regional, like I don't even like calling Lights Out a regional show because it plays around the country.
Yeah, no, the way you said it's on TV everywhere, it doesn't seem regional to me at all.
So if I were to become their champion, I feel like that's a checkpoint in my career, almost like a save point where I'd be comfortable walking away and being able to be like, you know, I was the Lights Out Extreme champion, heavyweight champion. If I didn't get that, I mean, it would really have to depend on what the options were that were on the table. But I have bigger things. Being the biggest badass in the world isn't at the top of my priority list. You know, I've got, like, my major goal in life is to encourage people to believe in themselves, their dreams, and their ability to achieve those dreams. And I don't think fighting's the way is going to be the place that I'm really able to get a big enough platform to broadcast the messages I have to get that message across to people. I really think WWE is. So, I mean, if I had them knocking at my door, there's a very good chance that I'd be willing to walk away from fighting regardless of what the outcome of the fight is. But I know I'm smashing you on Friday the 13th.
I believe that too.
Don't get your hopes up.
I was just playing devil's advocate around here. But I want to go back on something you just actually brought up when you're talking about cutting promos and getting more comfortable with promos. And it's something that I think it has a positive and negative representation in the industry of wrestling. And some people use it very well, and some people use it very poorly, or they could use it better. What role do you think social media plays?
Oh, social media is huge. So the thing is, it's not just about what you say, it's how many people you can get to listen to you say it, you know? And social media is a free platform that you can get as many people as you can get to listen to you, listen to you.
Like, has it helped you? Like, has it helped grow your brand? Like,
it has been huge for my brand.
Yeah.
So I started Bulletproof Troop about 3.5 years ago. And when I started cutting my promos and all that stuff, my Instagram blew up significantly. Instagram's my main platform. At Bulletproof Troop, come check me out.
Go check him out.
But yeah, I would say it's huge, you know, and I announced my fight. I cut all my promos on there. Everything I do, I wouldn't be cutting, if there was no Instagram, I wouldn't be cutting promos.
Yeah.
I mean, well, I can't say I wouldn't, but I definitely believe that Instagram has played a major role in me trying to build this persona to announce to the world, you know? So social media has been huge for me. I'm a huge advocate in it. I use it a lot to promote myself and a ton of other things, you know? So social media has been a major factor. Like I said, I don't know if, I'm not positive Bulletproof Troop would be as big as he is right now if it wasn't for social media.
No, 100%. And I think, because you said how you utilize it to help yourself, you know, practice your promo stuff. And I think a lot of people sometimes look down on it. And the wrestling fans on social media can be kind of harsh. Have you dealt with any of that? Or?
Yeah, I mean, but fans in any sport can be kind of harsh. You see Deontay Wilder get knocked out, and then these guys that are sitting on the couch, that guy's a bum. It's like, shut up and eat your cheeseburger.
Yeah,
you know,
fair.
like,
That's fair. That's fair. So besides WWE, though, like, have you thought about any other companies? Like, now we got the boom of AEW, which is kind of like a second coming of a competition, like a company that can actually compete with the WWE. In a
Absolutely.
certain
So I'm super excited to see. I mean, there's a bunch of new companies popping up. Another one's NWA that's gotten a ton
NWA. Have you watched any of Power?
Yeah, I've watched.
I love
the
setup.
So I know a bunch of the guys.
Setup. I love the setup. I love the old school look. I love the vibe. I love that it's on YouTube and it's only an hour long. It's
a fantastic program. So I'm a big fan of a lot of this stuff. I think competition makes everybody better.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, I think you can get kind of complacent. And I mean, a great example of, I'm a huge fan of all elite wrestling, by the way.
Yeah.
But in terms of the competition, improving the business and the game, look at what it's done for NXT. Given it's a completely different company, but now NXT went from being the minor leagues to the Wednesday Night Wars. You're seeing a push of Shayna Baszler, Riddle, and all these NXT talent where it's forcing everybody to be better. You know, you can get better, you're going to get left behind. So I'm a huge fan of seeing them come in, and I'm a really big fan of what All Elite's doing.
No, and it's crazy. It's giving people another place to work because the way I look at it right now, WWE's signing everybody almost. Like, anytime someone's hot, they're signing them, and then those guys, like, you can only have so much talent under umbrella. But speaking about some of the names you just dropped, Matt Riddle, Shayna Baszler, those are two very popular names that also came from the MMA world and transitioned into wrestling, among others being, you know, Brock Lesnar, and, you know, we just saw Cain Velasquez in the WWE not that long ago. Do you think that the transition from wrestling to transition from MMA to wrestling, do you think it could work in other companies outside the WWE? Because we haven't seen it in other places besides maybe WWE in Japan.
I absolutely think that it can. And I'm surprised that more companies aren't jumping on board with it. But I think it can work anywhere because you're essentially taking...
Well, there's Tom Lawler and actually MLW.
Yeah, MLW.
Killing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that I'm surprised it's not more utilized. I'm surprised that AEW doesn't have at least another guy for Jack Hager to beef with.
Yeah.
You know, but I think it's absolutely something to be used because essentially professional wrestling is two characters going at it. What better way to make a character complete badass than by being a legitimate badass?
Yeah. Do you think sometimes it hurts someone that comes from MMA to go to wrestling and then, you know, because there's always that perspective that some fans have, like, well, he does MMA. There's no reason he should be getting beat up like this or getting beat up by the small guy. Like, they can't separate the fact that one is kind of, you know,
right. I mean, I could see
sports entertainment and the other.
I could see some people
you know?
feeling a certain way about that, but I think it's good for everybody. I think that there's going to be significantly more people that are interested in what their fight career and their wrestling career looks like than people that are going to be disinterested because, like, oh, why is he getting beat up? Like, if Jack Hager's getting beat up, like, oh, he's an undefeated.
You know, like if Marco Stunt's going after Jake Hager, some people might be like, oh, that's so dumb. Like, he's, you know, he's an MMA fighter, like that shouldn't be happening. Do you think that's interesting? I don't think it is. I think people need to separate the fact that wrestling's wrestling and MMA's MMA, but
I agree 100% with that.
But
I think, and the people that kind of have that problem with it, I think that there's going to be less of them than there are people that are going to be excited to see them in this storytelling.
Because I do think there is a struggle booking people that were really strong in MMA when they come to wrestling. Look, it's hard to book Brock weak because he's Brock Lesnar. Ronda Rousey we just saw pretty much dominate until the end.
Right.
So like where's that line?
I mean, I definitely think that
okay?
when you've got a guy that you have to book strong, bring him in to smash, and then you see a guy where you're like, oh man, he might be like where Seth Rollins. Then he beats him and he's the Beast Killer or Beast Slayer, where things like that. Where I mean, you have to make those losses and stuff really
matter.
Yeah, because if you just got Brock goes in and just gets beat up by whoever.
I mean, Goldberg beat him. You watch that? That was insane.
But Goldberg's Goldberg.
That's true. Goldberg is Goldberg.
Goldberg's not like a little dude beating him. You know?
Is there anyone you'd love to work with if you had the opportunity? Or if you could name 3 people you'd love to work with that are wrestling anywhere?
Stone Cold, The Rock, Triple H.
Besides those guys.
Besides my biggest...
On their current roster. Like guys that... Because you've been watching now since 2017-ish. You've seen who's on the WWE. You've kind of seen who's in AEW. Any 3 guys you'd love to work with, you think you could have great matches with, great fights
The Rock
with?
on there? The Rock's still kind of in. I heard he'll be at Mania.
I mean, The Rock could come
So
back.
I'll put The Rock in for one because The Rock's just an OG. Let me see. I mean, I would love to be the guy that retires Brock. I know Matt Riddle. Matt Riddle, I know you want to be that man.
I think Brock shut down Matt Riddle on that one, so you might have the chance.
Yeah. I mean, I think it'd be fantastic to work with Brock.
I would love that.
Undertaker,
I think that'd be super cool.
I would be putting it more towards the legends at this point in time, but I would love to work with, man, a variety of people.
But I always want to, because I've always loved, like, I don't, if you've watched Brock's matches recently, every time Brock works with a smaller guy, whether it's AJ Styles, Daniel Bryan, Ricochet, Finn Balor, those matches have always been so fun because the story's always he goes in there, he underestimates them because they're smaller than him, and then they get one over him with their speed and their agility and whatnot, and you know it seems like they got him. Then he always catches them at the end and game over. But I love that. I love that whole idea because
that's the fun part. Is dude,
a guy like you going in there against a smaller guy, say like a Ricochet, being like, oh man, I'm gonna toss this guy around. He's small, like he can't, and then him getting the edge on you because he's, you know, jumping over you or leaping through the ropes and this and that. Like, it's a story that happens over and over again, but I love it. I'd love to see you against a guy like Rey Mysterio.
Yeah, so I was going to say Undertaker. He's a little bit old now, so I might switch it up and say The Fiend. I'm a big fan of the extreme characters. And by extreme, I don't mean like...
Larger than life.
And The Fiend is really...
The ones that actually make you suspend your disbelief, because that's what wrestling is. And beyond, like The Undertaker, like, do we really believe he's a dead zombie walking around?
Right.
But no, but for so many years, us wrestling fans will loyally believe that he's for real.
Pops up out of the coffin.
Like we hear the gong and we're excited. Like, that's what it's all about. The Fiend versus you would be dope.
I'd be a fun one, you know, and probably some type of little guy for the third one.
Yeah.
Like Rey Mysterio is a guy I've been watching for my whole life. I can't believe he still wrestles, especially with all the wild stuff he does.
No, and it's crazy. And did you see the stuff with his son?
Yeah, so I
when
saw
they did
him
the double 619, and I thought his son was
wild.
Like, it was insane. And that was against Brock. So you
that
see what I mean?
Brock.
Yeah. That's pretty much what we're talking about. And anything else that you aspire to do in wrestling though? Like, is there anything specifically? I love what you were talking about before though. The fact that you want to be able to motivate people.
Yeah, I think a big thing about it is...
What led you to that?
You know, so in terms of motivating people, I walk around every day and I think you deal with a lot of people that are really angry or bitter at life, like road raging and all this stuff. And I really feel like a lot of people are quick to be angry and stuff because they're not happy with where they are in their life. They've settled or they've given up on things. And as a result, they just walk around a lot less happy with their lives. And I believe a lot more people would be happier with their lives and who they are and what they're doing if they really went after their dreams. And so that's why I say I want to encourage people to believe in themselves, their dreams, and their ability to achieve those dreams. Believing in yourself, like, oh, you can do it, blah, blah, blah. Like, that one's kind of easy. Believe in yourself, your dreams. So when I say believing in your dreams, what I mean is 100 years ago, if you said you wanted to go to the moon, you would have been laughed out of the room.
Yeah.
Laughed out of the room. If you said you want to go to the moon now, that's not even crazy. I want to go to Mars. Bro, that's not even that crazy.
No, it's not.
Another galaxy, okay. Now we're reaching a little bit, but...
Fair.
You know, but if people didn't believe we could make it to the moon, we might not have ever made it to the moon. You know, so believing that your far-fetched dream is something that's actually an attainable dream. And then the third part is that you could be the person to make that happen. If you want to go to the moon, you got to figure out what you want to do or which leads me into my next thing, So believe in yourself, believe in your dreams, and believe that you can be the person to achieve those dreams.
Yeah.
And the way I plan on doing all that is by accomplishing, quote unquote, crazy things in my life and then telling people how I did it. Like, I want to be.
You set high goals for yourself.
I set my goals. I create a plan to achieve them. I passionately put my everything into that plan, and then I adjust and make modifications along the way as I figure out how to navigate the waters better, and as I might make adjustments on what it is, the opportunities that are available, or I might get better at realizing what it is that I want to do. You know, like originally I went to school for physical therapy, then I got into athletic training, and then I got into strength and conditioning. But it's because I walked in the general direction that I knew I wanted to be in, and slowly found my path as I got more familiar with my surroundings and the things available. So I don't remember what the question was, but
but honestly, I agree with you, because I say it a lot, and I relate to a lot of what you're saying. I do believe, like, one thing that I would say about the whole believing in yourself and believing in your dreams is, like, I do think people need to realize, and I undersell myself sometimes a lot and stuff too, but you need to believe in yourself first before anybody else.
Oh, 100%.
If you don't believe in what you're selling, which is yourself most of the time, then why would anybody else want to buy it or sell it? You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And so, if you want to invest in yourself as
well.
Yeah,
you need to invest in it, and you just need to throw yourself out there and get out of your comfort zone and try. And I think those are some of the hardest things too, is getting out of your comfort zone and actually truly believing in yourself. Like, you might suck at something, but unless you keep trying to do it, you're not going to get any better. And
everybody who's great at something was a beginner at it at some point in time in their lives.
Malcolm Gladwell, the Outliers book, 100,000 hours of doing something until you actually become a pro, and he talks about all those people that succeeded, and it's because they just kept trying to do it, even if they weren't good at first, and then next thing you know, they were, because that's just the way it works. And I do think that's a really cool message. But something that does happen along the way, and I'm not sure how much time we have left, but one thing I do want to say is, like, I do want to ask you about, because this is I know this is an off wrestling topic, but I'm curious about this stuff now. Like, when people are chasing their dreams and doing stuff like this, that I think when people hit a wall or they fail, that's when they give it the most. Like, how would you say to overcome failure? Or do you? Because I look at failure sometimes as success.
Absolutely. So this will kind of bring me into starting my whole gimmick. I was 4-5 in my fight career, my first 2.5 years. I was very talented when I first started, but I didn't make the smartest moves early in my career. I jumped right into the bigger shows, fighting on TV, and as a result, my record was 4-5 when I started Bulletproof Troop about 3.5 years ago. But before I started Bulletproof Troop, I was very close to just being like, man, I'm just not going to do this anymore. Like this, I thought it was going to be much different than it is. I thought I'd be doing much better than it was, and I'm not. And I came very close to giving up on. I don't know if giving up on my dream. It's probably the right way to say it.
Yeah.
And I realized that if I kept doing the same thing, I was going to continue to get the same results back.
Yeah.
And so I had to make drastic changes in my fight career if I wanted to see different results, which I did. I switched gyms, but the big thing that I did, I began my Bulletproof Troop gimmick.
Yeah.
And started really promoting myself and adding the entertainment aspect of the fighting. And like I said, this was my dream, and I came very close to giving up on it because I wasn't reaching the success that I had anticipated reaching. And because I was there and I was like, oh man, I'm 4-5. I don't know if I'll ever, man, having 5 losses in fighting, it starts, I felt like I was in a very tough position to really achieve the goals that I was trying to achieve. And instead of giving up on myself, I realized I had to completely revamp everything that I was doing and make drastic changes to have drastic changes in my input, to have drastic changes in the output and the results that came back. And that's some of the biggest advice I can give people. If you're not getting the results you want in your life, then things need to change. What those specific things are, I don't know.
They're different for everybody.
But different for everybody in each different situation. But you can sit down and kind of consciously start seeing, like, what is it that I need to do differently to get the results that I'm trying to achieve? And that's exactly what I did. And as a result, I'm 4-1 now in my last 5 fights.
That's amazing. Congratulations.
My last fight was co-main event. This fight was main event. The fight before that was feature fight. Where it's significantly boosted up everywhere in my career because I made those drastic changes. And I did those because I wasn't attaining the success that I knew I was able to obtain.
Yeah.
Or that I believed I was able to obtain. I don't know what anybody else thought, but that didn't matter to me.
No, because it's a head game for yourself. You're the only one that's going to dictate the way you're gonna go if you need to make some changes. But last but not least, I'm going to get you to quickly do something for me. Because you talked about your promo skills. I'm going to get you to promote your fight one more time, but I want you to do it in a promo form.
Okay.
I want you to cut a promo, promote your fight, and let's see these skills.
All right. Give me about 10 seconds.
I want to give you a count. That's what it's all about.
I think it's great. The more people that can get introduced to it, it's all about how they get introduced to it. Because people are like, oh, that's stupid wrestling, it's fake. Then you're like, oh, stupid wrestling, it's fake.
Yeah.
But you bring it to them when in the enjoyable way, especially when you show them little tidbits and like bite-sized portions of wrestling. Like,
100%.
This is awesome.
Yeah, the funny stuff or like the moves where that catches their attention. Like I'm like most of the time, if I'm gonna show someone wrestling for the first time, I might not show them the best technical match. I might not take them to like Kurt Angle versus Brock Lesnar or Bret Hart versus Stone Cold at WrestleMania 13. I'll show them Undertaker throwing Mankind off a cage because that will catch their attention, you know? Because once you get their attention, then you can show them the rest stuff and then they can appreciate it. And I just think, I don't know, I think everything else is so accepted. You can be a comic book fan, which used to be like a nerdy thing back then. I'm not saying that in a derogatory way. I love comic books. I read them when I was a kid too. Batman, Spider-Man, and the X-Men were my shit. But like, you know, now that's so accepted. Or you can be a sports fan. Anybody can wear, like my cousin here sitting here wearing a Toronto Maple Leafs jersey in LA, but that's totally okay. Nobody's gonna say anything about an eye. But if you used to walk around in a CM Punk shirt or something, or a John Cena shirt, you're getting judged. Like there's a bad perspective of what wrestling fans are. Like, you know, they're in their mom's basements, this and that, blah, blah, but we're not. There's different sections of wrestling fans. There's different sections of other fans, as well as other type of fandoms as well. Like, you're a wrestling fan, and you could probably kick a lot of these people's asses.
I kick all their asses.
So, like, there's so much of what I try to do is just trying to bring, like, you know, light to, like, this fandom as, like, it's cool, man. Like, just, it's okay to be a wrestling fan. It's okay to be an open wrestling fan. It's okay to wear your T-shirts out in public. It's okay to talk about wrestling. It's okay to go to a bar and be like, hey, can you put on USA so I can watch Monday Night Raw? Just accept it and approve it and just do your thing, man.
I agree 100%. I'm so surprised at the whole quote-unquote, it's fake. Like, dude, you guys know that the Avengers movies, there's not a real Superman.
No, and I'm like, it's the same thing. I'm like, you know, like it's like you go into a movie, and for that hour, 2 hours of that movie, it's a form of escapism. You're in that world. Nothing else matters. That's what wrestling is supposed to be. When you're watching it, you're not supposed to be thinking about logically in reality, and you're supposed to be in that world.
Right.
And
on that note, boys, I'd hate to break up the party, but we are out of time. So why don't we do some social media plugs and website plugs?
So yeah, I'll let you go first.
At Bulletproof Troop on Instagram, at Big Troop 22 on Twitter, or Facebook.com/Bulletproof Trooper, BulletproofTroop.com. Go pick yourself up some merch.
And as for me, you can find me on the Wrestling Classic on Instagram. My personal is Justin Dillon, but you don't really need to follow that one. TWCShop.com if you want to buy some merch, and the WrestlingClassic.com to read reviews and all that other stuff. Other than that, hope you guys enjoyed the show. Make sure you guys follow Bulletproof Troop, check out the fight, and we'll see you all next time. Ooh, yeah, dig it.